You're watching Street Smart, and I'm Lori Rothman. It's a big ticket item that might be under the tree right now, a video game system. But the battle between Wii, PlayStation, and Xbox has seen a few twists recently. Who will come out on top this holiday season, Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft? Ed Williams is the managing director at BMO Capital Markets, and he joins us now live from Stanford. Ed, great to see you. Happy holidays.
Great to see you. Happy holidays to you, too.
So what's going on in the gaming industry? Wii, of course, all the rage last year. PlayStation 3, not so much. Did that reverse, and why?
It really has. Sony has done a great job. First of all, they've got some great product on the software side that really drives the hardware. But also the price cut that they did in September really has made the product a little bit more accessible to more people. So what we've seen thus far is the PlayStation 3 in the last few months really has lifted up pretty dramatically. And Nintendo, while still selling quite a few units, relative to a year ago, it's on a much slower pace.
So we're talking about a $100 difference, or PS3 rather, is $100 less than Nintendo, and that, I guess, in this economic climate, you're saying, is enough to draw in new customers.
Well, the PS3 is $100 less than it was a year ago. So the PS3 was $399, and it's now $299, and that's where the delta is enough of a difference relative to where it was a year ago.
And you mentioned the products, the games Sony has out. Tell me more about them and why they're attractive.
Well, one of the things that you have with one of the challenges that developers have is really learning how to exploit the power of their hardware. And one of the what happens usually over time is as the developers get more comfortable with what the hardware can do, they create games that really kind of exploit it. So a Sony first-party title like Uncharted 2 has done great of late and has really kind of showcased that hardware. Other titles that Sony has put out, such as Little Big Planet, which came out about a year ago, but that continues to sell well, those games really kind of showcase really what the PS3 is capable of doing and help to drive hardware unit sales.
Which is your personal favorite?
You know, like I enjoy I've got three young daughters at home, and I really enjoy playing the Wii with them. It's a much more approachable console for us as a family. The PlayStation 3 on the technology side is, I think, great, and it's great to use as a Blu-ray player. But as far as the games that we play at home, the Wii is the one that I enjoy more.
Appreciate that response. Talk about the Microsoft Xbox 360. We don't really hear much about it these days. So how does it fit into this competitive situation?
Well, the 360 it really has a great system, and Xbox Live is still doing very well. So I think that the reason why you don't talk about it that much is it's still kind of performing as well as it did a year ago, or in line with the expectations. So whereas the PlayStation 3 is doing a lot better and the Wii is doing a lot worse, the 360, the reason why we're not talking about it as much is simply because it is doing as we had anticipated. Microsoft, generally speaking, in the Western markets, or the English-speaking markets specifically, so in the U.S. and in the U.K. and Australia, they're doing very well. And they're, in continental Europe, I think, is where they're not as robust. That's where the PlayStation brand is a little bit stronger. But still, they're doing fairly well right now. What
are your predictions for the big blockbuster games into the new year?
I think the key thing looking into 2010, we still don't have great visibility in what the release schedule would be like in the holiday period of 2010, which is obviously when the majority of sales occur. But as we look at the beginning of 2010, there are a handful of titles that should be pretty strong performing games, such as Mass Effect 2 coming from Electronic Arts, which comes actually early in January, and BioShock 2 from Take-Two is another one that's highly anticipated. So there are a whole slew of others, but just to name a couple of them from the get-go, those are two that I would look to.
Ed Williams, analyst with BMO Capital Markets. Appreciate your time. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. You too.